Hey, what's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? Excited to have this training today to help you get more energy, to the secret to having all day energy and focus with your ADHD. Let me know in the chat if you struggle with that. I think it's such a common thing amongst adults with ADHD, struggling with not only focus issues, but also with low energy. Let me know in the chat if you struggle with that. So we'll get in, we'll do a little bit of training as always, and then we'll get into Q&A section. We'll spend a good portion of this live stream answering your questions around low energy, ADHD symptoms that you're experiencing, more natural ways to approaching it. So we'll get into all that. And then, of course, if you can just do me a favor, let me know that if you can hear me and see me. I always want to do just a mic check and technical check just to make sure that everything is working properly. On my end, it says it's good, so we should be good, right? So someone can just kind of let me know in the chat that we are good. You can hear me and see me fine. But otherwise, let's go ahead and get started with the training. Awesome. Hey, everybody, Dr. Grant here, and today we're going to be talking about specifically the secret to all-day energy and focus with ADHD. So I'm going to do this a little differently than I would have been typically doing with live streams. Is I'm going to kind of go from layer to layer of whenever I have a potential client or patient that's coming in and really suffering with low energy and focus issues because of their ADHD. And this is so common amongst adults that have this issue, is that we reach this complete burnout. And so when I think about the common issues I see with my patients that have ADHD and also fatigue, is the very first thing that I think of is where it all really starts. The foods that we consume on a day-to-day basis that make it difficult if there is an issue going on in the digestive system. And if there is an issue going on here, it makes it very difficult for the body to really feed, not only, I mean, like for the digestive system to feed the body, but also to really feed the brain. And if there's issues there, then there's going to be lots of complications to have that energy and that focus. So some of the big things that I see that creep up time and time again when I am working with people is, one, is that you're really backed up. So constipated is a big one. You're going to have symptoms of gas and bloating are some really big ones too. A lot of people with ADHD I find have IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome. Let me know in the comments if you actually do suffer with any of these things. Now, what I consider someone who's constipated, if you're not having 2 to 3 bowel movements a day, like if you're only having one a day or one every other day, I consider that constipated. Now, why is this so critical when it comes to focus and also energy? Well, think about it. If you are backed up right here and you got a bunch of, here, let's use a different color. Let's use green maybe. Kind of all backed up right here. It's very difficult for really any nutrients to be broken down and utilized for the body, but more specifically for the brain. Let's use a different color for the brain. Right? So the brain needs nutrients from whatever we're eating on a day-to-day basis. And if you're backed up, it makes it very difficult. And so I see this as a problem. And then, of course, with leaky gut, causing issues there, getting the gas and bloating, irritable bowel syndrome, it makes it very difficult. And so this is like the first thing that should be really addressed. And usually it's always associated around with the foods that we just eat on a day-to-day basis. There could be foods that could be irritating us that we might be allergic to. There could be, certain extreme diets that can cause some issues. But more importantly, I think is that we just don't, especially with people with ADHD, do not get the right amount of good foods such as proteins, healthy fats, and veggies. So veggies are going to be really critical because of the big fiber content that can help a lot with the constipation, gassing, and bloating. But proteins are what the brain needs a lot, especially like the dopamine pathway. You're going to need that. Right. So digestion is like a huge, huge piece to this. But another big, important, I think, organ when it comes to having all day energy and focus is this organ right here, is the liver. Why? Because you could see in the digestive system, everything does get filtered to the liver. And if that's all backed up, it can cause things such as like brain fog, fatigue, focus issues, even hormone imbalance. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Clicked on the wrong thing. So hormone imbalance are going to be some really major ones if there's some issues with the liver. So I think it's really important to test to make sure the liver is working properly and functioning properly. And it also comes down to foods. And usually it's going to be because the American diet is terrible. It's all based around sweets, sugar and sweets. Everything has sugar in it, right? Causes a lot of inflammation. We know this from the sugar that actually can cause inflammation. And when we're on a very consistent diet like this, in fact, I find that a lot of people who come to America, either from Europe or Russia or places that they're used to more sour. So let me use a different color here. Sour and bitter foods, which are actually phenomenal for not only for the liver, but also for the digestive system. Why? Because it does stimulate things like the gallbladder and also producing natural digestive enzymes to help in breaking down our macronutrients on a regular basis. But you see in the American diet, we do not get enough sour and bitter foods. And it's something that I think is really important, especially getting good natural probiotics into your diet. These are really going to be critical things to not only have consistent bowel movements, but a consistent nutrients to the body so it can feed the brain so that you can have that consistent energy and also focus throughout the day. We need to be able to utilize our machine. So you think about the digestive system as like kind of like a factory, right? If the factory is not working properly, if there's a gear that's off or it's rusty, not working properly, it really comes back down to just like our own body is the digestive system, like a factory system. And a liver is a very, very important organ that is definitely not even think about when it comes to ADHD and a lot of these symptoms that we do experience. Okay. So that's the second one. Now let's take this to another level, which I think a lot of you are probably when a lot of people think about fatigue, low energy, they think about hormones. So there are certain endocrine systems. So endocrine systems that are vital to dealing with our hormones. Now, the liver is not an endocrine system, but it does a lot with hormones, like I was mentioning. So that's why it's so important. Now, thinking about the very vital endocrine systems that we need to look at is one being your thyroid. Okay, so thyroid is a huge one. And this is something that a lot of doctors will think of when you are dealing with chronic fatigue. But thyroid issues can also cause complications of your focus issues. And it's very common amongst people with ADHD to actually experience this, especially women with ADHD, is that they will have thyroid issues that present a lot like ADHD symptoms, or they can have a combination of both, which just can make their ADHD symptoms even worse. So it's very, very important to make sure that we're addressing hormone endocrine systems like the thyroid, but also the adrenals. Adrenals deal with several hormones. They deal with epinephrine, norepinephrine, cortisol are some of the main ones. And they deal a lot with managing our stress, but also cortisol a lot with our energy, and it can impact our focus significantly. And so what happens here is usually the big culprit to this, use a different color, is stress. It's a big culprit. And it's something that has to be managed to really tackle your low energy situation as well as even your focus issues. If you have constant stress that are impacting your life, it makes it very difficult. Doesn't matter what you implement, all the good foods and nutrients, it could be sabotaging from allowing your body to heal. And once you start eliminating those stressors in your life, your body can heal, but also your adrenals are going to be much happier, right? and it can function more properly. Now, there's a lot of things that you can implement. I've talked about like using like adrenal desiccated, but I usually will use it for 3 months to be able to help support the adrenals. But over time, we need to start tackling. Oops, why does it keep doing that? Tackling eliminating stressors. Now, there's other obviously important endocrine systems. So our gonads, so the ovaries for females, and then of course the gonads for males. So looking at specifically, progesterone, estradiol, and then of course testosterone, DHEA. These definitely can impact your energy, but it also can impact your focus. The hormones definitely do impact our ADHD brain significantly, and it's important to address these things to make sure that these are also in balance, and this will help improve your energy and your focus over time. Okay. Now, there's a couple other layers that we need to look at. Now, the brain is another one. I mean, I already talked about stress. That's a huge one, right? And that is going to impact your focus and your energy significantly. So by eliminating those are going to be big. Now, some other big ones, sleep. That's going to impact your brain significantly. It's going to impact your focus and energy as well. And so something I think that's important for people, especially with ADHD when it comes to sleep issues, is I'm sure a lot of you probably have tried melatonin and maybe have found some success, maybe not. But what I think is going to be more beneficial, and you're going to see a long-term results with helping with your sleep, is going to be, for example, bringing down the temperature to 68 degrees or below. There's a lot of research on this, which helps with hormones, helping with your sleep. It's going to be no food. I would say, probably about 3 hours before bed. Okay. Also, no screen. No screens about 2 hours before bed is a big one. Those three things, if you're actually really consistent on and doing those things, you will find that you'll get better quality sleep. The other thing that I do love is white noise. Especially if you're a light sleeper, white noise, the frequency, some people like green noise, some people like brown noise, depending on how you like the frequency, but it can help with like just stressing at night. Those things can be really, really beneficial on just having that even out sound, something that we use in our family and our household because it does give us really great quality of sleep. The other thing also too is to using something like even like light therapy can be really great too. And usually you want to do this like exposing yourself to natural light very first thing in the morning. When you expose yourself to natural light very first thing in the morning, it helps reset the circadian rhythm. Okay, so that's sleep. But there's some other things that I think are really important. So let me go ahead and erase these. Give me some more space. So sleep's a big one. And we talked about stress, but there's also other chemical imbalances in the brain that can be causing issues. So there's like things like the dopamine pathway that deals a lot with our motivation and drive. There's the serotonin pathway, and then there's also even GABA that impacts our brain. So all these different neurotransmitters are really key to impacting our mood, impacts our energy, and impacts our focus. It also impacts our sleep. Why does it keep doing that? Impacts our sleep as well. So how can you know what to do and what to implement when we talk about all these important different hormones, organs, the digestive system, just to name a few, to really know what's truly going on? Before I get to that, I think just to reemphasize on food, like I was saying about on the digestive system. So it's really important with the digestive system, but it's also important and vital for balancing out hormones and also what the brain needs. And what I find time and time again with people with ADHD, some of the biggest one and issues is usually not enough proteins and vegetables and healthy fats, which all these are nuts, seeds, eggs, nut butters, avocados, and proteins on a regular basis. Because what I find when I'm working with people, one of the biggest problems I see is they have a very high carb diet, extremely high, and very little amount of protein. In fact, they might get like maybe one thing of protein, a serving a day, or maybe a couple times a week, and that's it. Protein is so important for the dopamine pathway, extremely important. And this is why you're probably not seeing good results and outcomes of having good focus and also energy. To have good, consistent energy and focus, you do need protein. Vegetables are going to be a big one because all the different vitamins and minerals that the body, not just the brain and not just hormones, but also the digestive system and also throughout the body, that it definitely needs. It needs different vitamins and minerals and nutrients because they're different cofactors for helping all sorts of biochemical processes that happen in our body that we need on a regular basis. And people with ADHD tend to be very deficient in this area. Okay. So those are the emphasis on foods, but like, what about how can you know and determine what's truly going on? Well, it does require testing, right? So you got to like test to be able to see really what is out of balance for you. And so whether that's looking at, use a different color here, whether that's looking at hormones, micronutrients, looking at digestive panels, they're all related for, I tell you, when it comes to ADHD. Now, every person's going to be different on what they need. Even at looking at neurotransmitters, possibly looking at allergies, if that's the case, toxicities, when you run a lot of different tests, you can actually get a better picture of really what's going on with you specifically as an individual. And something that I love doing. And instead of just looking at ADHD just as the brain, as it being just a brain issue, it's your whole body. The whole body is all interconnected and can cause more severe ADHD symptoms when you have other complications within your health. And when you can actually resolve those things, you will find not only will you have better energy all day and have that all day energy, but also that focus throughout the day as well, because it does require looking at the body as a whole. Okay. So hopefully this makes a lot more sense to you. So what I want to do is just like really offer you an opportunity to book a discovery call. It's a free ADHD discovery call. It's a 15-minute discovery call. You can book with my team. The link is in the description below. So you can click on that. And this is only available for people. These calls right now are only available for people here in the United States or in Canada right now. So don't book if you're outside. It's because we only are able to offer some time slots in the evening time. Anybody that books out those other time zones, it just wouldn't work. So if you're in Canada, in the US, also only for adults. We only work with adults. So please only book if you are 18 years or older. But yeah, you can click on that link in the description below. I also will put it here in the chat for those who are interested to booking that discovery call. All right, let's go ahead and get into the Q&A. So thank you guys so much for attending, and I'll see you guys in the next live stream. Thanks. All right, so let's get into the Q&A section of this today. Would this info also help with chronic fatigue? Yes, so that's what this for people who are dealing with chronic fatigue, it's very common amongst people with ADHD. So what I just mentioned there, yes, applies to chronic fatigue for sure. All right, next question. I can't live without coffee. I need to eat more veggies. I have stopped sugar. This is a really good question, Nikki. So I'm glad you actually bring it up. And you're definitely not alone in this situation. A lot of people with ADHD actually will feel like they need to rely on coffee. But even people who don't have ADHD, I find this as a common problem because you feel like it gives you energy, right? It gets you up in the morning and going. And this is a very early on sign that your adrenals are probably completely shot because you are overstimulating. And when you overstimulate, I think coffee is fine if you like stick to like 1 cup of coffee a day. But after you go more than that, you can definitely burn yourself out, because you're overstimulating yourself. It's like kind of like if you think about the adrenals as a sponge, you're like asking more from the adrenals, and you're squeezing, and you're not asking, and you're not giving any more to the adrenals or to the body. And so what you need to do is start replacing nutrients and foods, and also limiting stressors that are causing you burnout. And one of the things I do like to do is like sometimes we might do some adrenal desiccated initially to help replace having to take so much coffee a day. And then over time, you're implementing a lot of foods and good practices and lifestyle changes. And so you don't have to even be dependent on the adrenal desiccated either. So those are the things that you definitely need to kind of double down. Just like how I was kind of mentioning in this video, is that you need to start eliminating specific stressors in your life but also incorporating, usually a lot of times it's proteins. Like even adrenal desiccated have a lot of different proteins with that supplement, but are those are going to be vital things, so you kind of start cutting back on your coffee intake, because that is going to be causing you more burnout as you're drinking way too much coffee. 1 cup of coffee a day is fine. It's if you're kind of going more and above and beyond that on a day-to-day basis, that can cause some issues of reaching burnout. All right, next question. Does Adderall affect thyroid over a long period of time? So it can. As far as like, I think a lot of medications do. I wouldn't say like affects per se directly thyroid. What it does, there's a lot of medications that can cause micronutrient deficiencies. So the specific micronutrients that the thyroid needs, and so it definitely can impact it in that capacity. All right, next question. Dr. Gran, I'm fascinated with the route you are taking to cure ADHD rather than prescribing stimulants. I want to run a research, and I wanted to ask if you're interested in that area. I mean, like what research? I would just email me what research you're planning on doing. I mean, I'll just be honest, like I'm pretty busy just with like just helping with patients. Don't have much time to do any additional stuff, but maybe sometime in the future, if it works. But just send me details on it. Okay, next question. Cool. I only have 1 cup usually. I found my last job gave me terrible burnout. Okay, so you are doing that 1 cup now. How big is that cup? Is that a 12 ounce? Is that a 6 ounce? When I say 1 cup, I say like 6 ounce cup of coffee. But if that's the case, then you should book a discovery call, learn out about our services, see if we can actually help you out. Again, it's free. It's a 15-minute discovery call with one of my team members, so you can learn more about our services and what we do to provide to help people with ADHD. Again, I'll provide that link in the description, in the chat, to book that discovery call with us. Is there any advantage to ADHD? Yes, there's lots of advantages. I know a lot of people know there's lots of disadvantages, but there's definitely a lot of advantages when it comes to ADHD, especially when you can unlock that ADHD brain of yours. And that's what we love helping our patients and clients do, is that, in a lot of cases, they're very creative. They can definitely be very hyper-focused on something more than any other person, especially if it's something that can benefit them. I mean, like 70%, I would say, of entrepreneurs, even very successful entrepreneurs, have ADHD. So they do thrive a lot being an entrepreneur. They're risk takers, and usually that requires being an entrepreneur, of being a risk taker. But there's a lot of great benefits with ADHD because of how we think. We think very outside of the box, which we are, in my opinion, we're like the movers and shakers of the world because we do think differently, and we're very much needed. It's just we don't fit in the normalcy of the world that we are always trying to force ourselves to become. And I tell you, why do you want to be normal? I get that it can feel nice to always have these kind of stressors, but instead try to prove people that you can't be of your uniqueness, and that you can go above and beyond than what normal people typically do. All right, next question here. Can you have male issues taking Prozac? Yes, that is a common symptom. So if you are, I definitely talk to your prescribing doctor to see if that could be a culprit to that. Okay, next question. Thank you so much, but I'm in Wales in the UK. Okay. Yeah, it's because later on we'll probably have some availability, because I think like the slots that we only have available, that my team right now have available, are like from like 4 p.m. my time to like 6 or 7, which I think would be like in the middle of the night for you. So yeah. All right, next question. Can you get these blood tests through your GP, so covered by medical? Not high functional lab test, but like some labs, like for example, like a thyroid panel, like you could probably, if you go in and you have chronic fatigue, they could run a full thyroid panel, but a lot of times they'll just only run TSH, which in my opinion, is it enough? So running like a full thyroid panel would be like a free T3, free T4, TSH, anti-TPO levels would be really good. And, that should still get covered by insurance. You just have to ask for it. But when it comes to micronutrient tests, typically those aren't covered by insurance. So a lot of times your GP won't run those tests. All right, next question. Would SNRI meds help in any way? It depends. I mean, honestly, people are going to be at different degrees and severity with their ADHD or with their health in general. And I'm not like completely against medications. I'm just against when people use it as their first go to when they possibly could fix it with other simpler things to begin with. And then after they've exhausted that, then they might need to use medications for a period of time to get so they can have like their sanity back and to be able to function more properly. And then they add supportive treatment on top of that. And then over time they find that, okay, now I don't need the medication. So, all right, next question. Thank you for your response. Yeah, for sure, Matt. All right. Genesis asked question, do mushrooms help with ADHD? In a way, it can. I've talked about lion's mane as one that I've tested out and used before that I found good benefits. Sometimes I'll recommend it. I don't typically use like mushrooms for. I use it as an additional thing. If someone wants like some additional like boost in their focus and their energy, then I might recommend it. Yeah. Okay. I think I've got through all the questions. Got through the questions pretty quickly. If you're just coming on here, go ahead and put your questions. We're in the Q&A section. Go ahead and put your questions in the chat. And then if you want to book a free ADHD discovery call with us, with one of my team members, to learn more about our services of how we do help people with ADHD, again, you could book that. I'll put the link in the chat. It's also in the description below. And also make sure to, for those who are on Facebook, I forgot to add it there. Let me do that. But yeah, so you could book that there to learn more about how we do help people with ADHD. Again, it's free. It's a 15-minute discovery call that you can book with one of our team members to learn more about our services. Okay. Next question here. And then, of course, if you're new here, we do these live streams. I try to do these live streams every week on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then every Monday, we do post a new YouTube video, usually around ADHD health or brain health. So if you have not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. All right, next question. What's the best way to deal with hyperactivity? My biggest hindrance is my hyperactivity that makes it very hard to sit in one place and work. So when it comes to hyperactivity, the best way I've been able to kind of resolve it is to look at the imbalances in the body chemistry and to see if you're overstimulated. And a lot of times that's the case, is there's something in your body chemistry that's just it's high. And could be your dopamine levels might be too high, which is kind of weird because you think it's the other way around. It could be where you have low dopamine, but it might have high serotonin levels. That can cause that overstimulation, hyperactivity too. So I usually like to look at that as a possibility. All right. What caused that? Have you treated a patient with suicide thoughts? What does the lab test mostly show? Yeah, I've worked with people who have severe depression and suicidal thoughts. A lot of times it could be the serotonin pathway that we'll see. So serotonin levels are going to be significantly low for the most part. Even GABA levels could be significantly low too. And then there's different micronutrients that could be also really low, like vitamin D, iron could be a big one. I've seen patients where they've had significantly low iron have very suicidal thoughts. And once we fixed that, that helped a lot with their depression. So sometimes it could be just a micronutrient deficiency. That could be the culprit. But yeah. Okay. Next question, or did we get to all of the questions here? I think we got through most of the, yeah, we got through all the questions. There's quite a few on here. Don't be shy. Ask your questions so I can answer them for you. We got 32 people on here right now. So go ahead and ask your questions. Here we go. Poll ask question. What's the difference between magnesium glycinate and magnesium L-threonate? Good question. So I actually have a very thorough video on this, on all the different magnesium types and what they do and what they mean. So if you want to check out that video, you can. So magnesium L-threonate is really kind of more known to help with improving things for the brain, specifically, especially the functionality of the brain, whereas magnesium glycinate is definitely more of a gentler type of magnesium. It's definitely more easily absorbed. It can help with anxiety. But magnesium L-threonate is more specifically engineered and targeted for helping the brain directly, especially with like memory, focus. I did a 30-day challenge with L-threonate. So if you want to check that video out as well, I kind of deep dive into it more in there. Okay, next question here. Yeah, I provided my team member helped provide the actual YouTube video. I talk about it. How's the X3 training going so far? It's good. I'm doing this combo where I'm going back and doing alternate day fasting right now. So I'm not doing like the full 5-6 days a week because I don't typically will exercise on a full 36-hour fast. So I am doing a combo of the X3 and then also doing alternate day fasting. So in fact, I'm fasting today. But so yeah, I'll definitely let you guys know, hopefully sometime in the spring, my end results with doing the X3, because I'll do it before and after DEXA scan. I already did a DEXA scan and some lab tests as well along with it. But look out for that sometime in the spring, whenever I finish up with that. Maybe it'll be early summer. All right. You guys are quiet today. Here we go. The question here. Seriously, I experience PEM and I'm scared to exercise. How can I go about dealing with this? Because this feels very disabling. Sorry, PEM. I'm not sure if haven't looked this up since medical school. Post exertional malaise. So typically worsens after 12 to 48 hours of activity and lasting for days or even weeks. PM can be mitigated by activity management and pacing. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to answer this question because I'm actually not very familiar with PEM at all. This is actually something I probably haven't looked at since medical school. And so, sorry, I don't have like a direct, answer to this question because I'm not very familiar with it. I have to do more research into it to look at it. My guess is I think my question would be like, what kind of blood work have you done? Have you looked at different micronutrient deficiencies? Have you looked at hormones that could be impacting it? Would be my question. But all right, next question. What are your thoughts on people who are critical of your approach to ADHD using nootropics, and also people who say testing for neurotransmitters is inaccurate? So, Kumar, good question. So, when it comes to nootropics, just to be really clear, nootropics and supplements, even though I talk about them a lot, I always say that it's only really a stepping stone. It isn't a long-term solution. Food and lifestyle changes is the long-term solution, in my opinion. That is going to be the food and lifestyle is going to be your medicine, especially with ADHD. Like nootropics and supplements, they're great. They can get things started and kind of help people get better mood and some good benefits from it. But we need to start transitioning using food and lifestyle as a change. Now, as far as the testing for the neurotransmitters, so the argument here is with the neurotransmitter testing, they're thinking, well, it doesn't specifically measure the stuff in the brain. It doesn't. And what the testing that we do is we actually look at all the neurotransmitters throughout the body. In fact, a good majority of a lot of different neurotransmitters, 90 to 95% of a lot of neurotransmitters are made in the gut, not the brain. So in my opinion, and usually I don't rely on just neurotransmitter testing. We do several other testing to kind of back up of what we're trying to do. So it's just another tool that we like using. And when you're just relying just on neurotransmitters, it doesn't give us enough information to really pinpoint, to look at your body as a whole, to really treat you effectively. So, but yeah, good question. All right, next question here. I've been diagnosed with ADHD and I've taken L-tyrosine and L-theanine, but neither of these have really helped me calm my brain down to focus. Any other supplements I could try? If you've been trying lots of different supplements, it's probably high time that you should probably look into further testing. This is the thing why I don't tell people just kind of like just shoot in the dark and try random supplements. I mean, you can. I mean, it doesn't hurt as much. Um, maybe D-L-phenylalanine could be beneficial if you're deficient in that area. But I think looking at testing can really help you really see what's really truly going on versus just shooting into the dark. So what I would suggest is book a discovery call with us. To a 15-minute free discovery call. So that way we can understand the ins and outs of what you're, struggling with, and you can learn about our services and see if moving forward makes sense. But again, if you're in Canada or in the US, you could book that. And again, you have to be an adult in order to do that. All right. Next question. I should make a video on testosterone. Yeah, I could. I know it's very popular, but I feel like if I make a video like on that, then I'm just going to get a lot of people who are really just focused on increasing their testosterone levels and libido and all that kind of stuff. Maybe I'll consider in the future. But yeah, that's the thing I have to be careful is like with audiences, like certain supplements I could talk about, it brings in a whole different audience when my focus is on ADHD. And I'll tell you, I don't tend to really prescribe that. Really from the testing that I'll run, it's not as big as a problem. Like hormones is a problem, but there's other things I decide to use. All right, next question. Oh, no worries. I appreciate it, doctor. Okay, awesome. Well, you guys are kind of quiet today. I mean, there's like almost 40 of you guys here and no more questions. I mean, I'm getting through these questions quick. I mean, I appreciate the questions. Let me know. Well, I have a question for you. What do you guys think about today's training? Was that helpful? Did that kind of help you kind of understand the importance of like how to get all day energy and focus with your ADHD? Did that help clarify things for you? Let me know in the comments. So this question I have for you guys. So take a few minutes and just let me know in the comments if that was valuable to you of today's training. And is there any other things that you would like me to address on any future other live streams? Let me know in the comments as well. Okay. Thoughts on N-phenylethyl dimethylamine citrate? I mean, it can be effective for sure, but if you need it, that's always kind of my opinion when it comes to certain supplements I'm going to recommend is to see if you really need it, if you're deficient in a particular area, that it's going to benefit you. But it can be helpful. Yeah. All right. Next question. I'm a little late to the chat, but what are good ways to work through chronic fatigue? Yeah, so just kind of give you guys a summary for those who are late. You can always watch the replay of the training if you did miss it. But big one, you want to focus on is your digestive system is kind of like the first thing. If your digestive system's not working properly, you want to make sure that is working properly because it's what feeds the body, what feeds the brain. And so that's big. Looking at your liver functionality, looking at hormones are going to be a big impact, especially look at all the different endocrine systems, like like the thyroid, adrenals, the reproductive organs, those things that do produce specific hormones. And then look at your brain chemistry is another big one that we talked about. And then, of course, certain foods that are going to be very vital, especially for people with ADHD. They don't get enough adequate protein into their diet on a regular basis, as well as different vegetables and healthy fats. That's a very, very watered down version, but yeah, you could always just rewatch the replay of it. But when I have found with chronic fatigue, it usually comes down to a lot of times hormones, and then working on the food consumption and also eliminating stressors in your life. Like that's a huge one that does play a huge culprit on that. But there's a lot more that I talked about in the training that you could always replay as well. All right, next question here. Does the coaching you recommend to your patients plays a big part in the process? Do they need to do it to break bad habits? Yeah, so we do a lot coaching within our program as well, because it is a big part of people's ADHD life, whether that's things that they're struggling in their marriage, relationships, or at work to be more productive, or at school, depending on what their goals and their needs are to helping them get over those big hurdles in their life. All right, next question. What is the approximate cost of comprehensive testing? Again, well, this is going to really depend on really what you do need specifically. Every person's going to be different. So you could book a free discovery call just to learn more about our services. And then from there, if it makes sense, if you do qualify, then we could move forward to where you could book your first paid consultation with one of our health experts or with me. You could do so there. But the first thing is just to book that free discovery call. It's 15 minutes with one of our team members to learn more about our services. And then once you book a consultation, paid consultation after that, if you want to move forward, then that's where we can kind of determine what labs would be the best for you and then what the cost would be. And again, this is going to depend on person to person because everyone's medical history is going to be different. All right, next question here. It was good to know how different parts of the body work together in producing energy. The visual explanation helped. Awesome. No, I'm glad that today's training was helpful for you. I like the feedback. Thanks. I appreciate it. Does intermittent fasting have any impact on ADHD, positive or negative? Yes, it does. In a positive way. And you got to be a little careful here. So, like, I think there's a time and place for people who sometimes extreme fasting is not good because, well, one, they could, if they have eating disorders, you have to be careful on that. But there is a lot of benefits to fasting. And the reason why there's a lot of benefits to fasting, especially if you're doing more long-term fasting, like 24 to 36 hours, you start unlocking things such as like getting into ketosis, which helps break down fat cells to break down the ketone bodies. And then the brain utilizes those ketones as fuel, which is actually more efficient and beneficial than using glucose as fuel, which the brain primarily uses. But when it can switch over to using ketones as fuel, you'll start noticing a difference where you can focus and be just have more clear mind. I always fast on my busiest days because I've been doing it for a long time, that I find a great benefit in fasting. That's why I do it. There's also the benefits of autophagy, which helps break down a lot of old dying cells and eating away those old dying cells so that it can create new cells. So like it actually increases stem cell regeneration, even for the brain. So there's a lot of benefits to fasting. It actually increases human growth hormones, increases neurotrophic factors, all sorts of benefits. But yeah, no, I love fasting. So the basic intermittent fasting, like just fasting, 16 hours a day, eating an 8-hour window frame, you're not going to see really much benefit from that. Like the benefit of that is just to shorten your time window to kind of prep your body. And some people can lose weight from that, but as far as like, the brain benefits, that kind of happens more when you're getting into more like the 20 plus hour fasts, like 20 to 36 hour fasts. But you got to be careful, especially if you're like a diabetic or high blood pressure or have a lot of health complications. You don't want to just go ahead and just go fast. You definitely want to have someone supervising you for sure. And that's something I do with my patients and clients a lot. All right, next question. Have you had more patients recently talk about ADHD medication isn't working like it used to? And have you ever heard of L-theanine rebound? So Matthew, yes. I think we're seeing this more and more, but I think it's always been an issue for people where over time they find that their ADHD medication just doesn't work. It's because their body gets used to it, so they have to try something different. And then your last part of your question, have you heard that L-theanine can rebound? So rebound with certain side effects or where it's just not working anymore. So it can, but that's probably because there's certain other deficiencies that are not being addressed and isn't necessarily because of the L-theanine. So this is why I like looking at lab testing to look at that. So for anybody that is really just wanting to finally tackle their ADHD and understand the ins and outs of their challenges, then, I would say, the best thing if you really want my help is first book that free discovery call. Again, that is in the chat. It's also in the description. And that way you can learn about our services of how we do help people with ADHD, adults with ADHD. And then from there, if it makes sense moving on forward, then you'll book a paid consultation either with me or with one of our health experts. If you want to skip the line, for those who want to just not, skip the discovery call, you can. There is a link in the description where you can just purchase the consultation right away. And so for those who are in the UK or other places that are not in Canada and US, you actually can book that consultation, the paid consultation if you want to. And that again is in the description below if you want to skip the discovery call. But for those who just are more interested in like what we do and stuff like that, then you can book that to free discovery call to learn more about what we do. All right, next question here. Modafinil, what are your thoughts? I have both ADHD and sleep apnea. I mean, just like any other medication, it can work for some people, and then it can actually have some bad side effects for people. So it's going to depend from person to person. And what I'll tell you, if you're constantly having issues with any kind of medications and you're trying to do things more naturally, then the best thing is to really kind of look at further investigation and doing lab testing. It's something that we do, and something they can discuss on the discovery call and tell you more about that if you're interested, book that discovery call. But that's really what kind of is required if you want to go more of a natural way, is to really see what's truly out of the balance in your body chemistry. All right. I'm going to answer a few more questions and then I do got to go, but appreciate all the questions everybody's been asking. All right. What's our next question here? Already answered that question. How do you know if nootropics is working or if it's a placebo? So you have to give whether it's a nootropic or supplements, you do got to give it time. Sometimes it could take a month or two before you even see the effects on it. Some people, they'll notice a difference within a week. It just depends on the person, but a drastic improvement or even just a subtle improvement that it's working. And to not know it's a placebo, what I like to do is, like, if you've been taking it for a long time and you're starting to see the benefits, take it away and see if things get worse. If things don't get worse, either your body doesn't need it anymore, or it actually truly was working in the first place. So, yeah, no, good question. All right. Well, I got to all the questions, and so I appreciate you guys coming out. And again, if you want to book a free 15-minute ADHD discovery call with my team to learn more about our service, I'll put that link in the chat. And while you guys are booking for that, I will leave with you with just a clip of just some testimonial videos of people that we have helped over the years. And so I will do that, and then we'll end the live stream. But thank you guys so much for attending, and I'll see you guys all on the next live stream. Okay, bye.
Honestly, like, things have been going really well, but I've been feeling really good, and like my energy is so much better already than it was, which is a win in and of itself. But because of that, I've been able to just like get more done in a day. I'm not kind of going to bed as early or as just like totally drained. I've been exercising more. I've been more focused and more present at work, and like all of the things that I had been looking for. Yeah, I'm feeling very pleased and optimistic.
I was struggling with a lot of depression and anxiety. It was just a perfect mix of both. It would seem to come and go throughout the day with just these bouts of this anxiety. Couldn't pinpoint where it was coming from. And then after getting on the correct amount of supplements, finding out what was really going on with the brain chemistry, it seemed to really kind of start to go away. So that was a big help for me, getting rid of those moments of anxiety. I've had a lot more energy, just so much more willing to get up and get outside, take some long walks, and feel really good before and after doing it. So I have a lot more energy than I used to. I was fairly sedentary, and now it seems like I've got just a lot more energy. And I work in a profession where I have to have a really strong focus for the entire day, and I can see an absolute difference. I feel an absolute difference in my ability to stay focused now. I would highly recommend looking into this. I would highly recommend joining. There is just so much mystery around neurochemistry and what imbalances one might have, and Dr. Legrand hones in on that. You find out exactly what you need. You find out exactly what you need to supplement certain neurotransmitters, and then you're done. I mean, that helps. That helps everything. It's no longer a guessing game like when you go maybe to a psychiatrist or a therapist or something. So it's a really nice way to get honed in on exactly what you need to help.
I was really struggling with energy and a lack of focus. I was on medication, on Ritalin, and it was working, but I also learned that the more I use it, the more I have to use it. So that's why I joined the program, to be able to have more energy and not be so reliant on my ADHD medication. So through the testing, I was able to get on some supplements that really worked for me, especially vitamin D. I was able to get a lot more energy, and I'm not using my Ritalin as much. It's more of an as needed for really tough days rather than an everyday medication. I have energy. I have energy in the afternoons, not having any issues. I walked into my nurse's office the other day and I said, I feel like I took a Ritalin today, but I didn't. And it was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But
Nice.
Mostly I'm not even taking it really anymore.
You're not taking the Ritalin anymore, mostly?
Nope.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yep.
That is really good to hear. Yeah,
Yep.
that's awesome.
Which was goals. So I'm happy about that.
There you go. There you go.
The one-to-one coaching is really good. I got a lot of good tips and tricks, and I really think it was the testing, the in-depth testing that was supported, that helped to dig into what my specific issues were. I would absolutely recommend it to other people. It was very helpful. Every time I reached out, I got an answer pretty quickly, and then the one-on-ones were really important to me and helped a lot.
Hello everybody, my name is Ibrahim. I'm from New York City because I want to reflect on my journey with Optimum Mind program. Before I signed up, I was dealing with fatigue, low energy, and my focus wasn't great. I was struggling everywhere, school, work. After I signed up for the program and I was putting in the right with the right supplement, the right food that worked for me, and exercising and have the right mindset, especially for ADD, I become more driven, have more energy, I'm nicer to people, and I became more focused. If one thing I remember, what my boss was telling me, like my performance had totally changed. I was really happy because I want to bring the best version of myself everywhere I go. If I recommend this program, I would definitely gonna recommend to my brother because I know he struggled with the same issue like I do. I'm definitely gonna have him sign up for this program.